Ladies, let me tell you something right now. There are some women out here who don't chase. They attract, and not just any man. They attract the best kind of men. I'm talking about men know how to treat a woman, love her, respect her, and build with her. Knowing your value is the foundation of everything when it comes to relationships. Self-respect and how others treat you. A woman who knows her worth carries herself with a confidence that doesn't need to be explained. You can see it in how she walks, how she talks, and most importantly, how she decides. She's not out here chasing people to validate her because she already understands that her value doesn't come from other people. It comes from within. The first mistake too many women make is thinking their worth is tied to how much a man loves them, how much attention they get, or how desirable the world sees them. But true value isn't up for debate. You don't become more or less valuable based on someone else's opinion. A diamond is still a diamond, even if someone tries to price it like a piece of glass. See, the women who consistently attract high-quality men, they aren't sitting around waiting to be picked. They've already chosen themselves. They understand that they are the prize, not because they're arrogant, but because they've done the work. They know their mind, they've built their peace, and they guard it carefully. When a man comes along, he's not walking into a mess. He's stepping into a life that's already rich in self-love and clarity. When a woman knows her value, she doesn't tolerate confusion. She's not available for half-effort love. She won't sit around wondering if a man likes her. Or if he's serious, she watches his actions and listens with her spirit. She can tell if a man is serious because her self-respect won't let her stick around for games. She's not afraid to walk away, not because she's heartless, but because she respects her own time too much to waste it on someone who's unsure. And let me tell you this, knowing your value doesn't mean you never feel doubt. It doesn't mean you don't have insecurities. It just means you've decided those things don't control you. You've decided to walk in power anyway. That's what makes a woman magnetic, that quiet confidence, that sense of peace that says, I don't need to prove myself to you. I already know who I am. There's something powerful about a woman who stops negotiating her value just to keep a man interested. She no longer twists herself into who he wants her to be. She's not auditioning for a role in someone else's life. She's already the main character in her own. If you want to be part of the story, you better bring respect, consistency, and clarity. You see, the truth is, men recognize value. The best men don't want to control or fix a woman. They want to honor her, and they can only honor what she's already honoring in herself. When you carry yourself with high standards, you don't have to explain them. The wrong man will be intimidated. The right man will rise to meet them. Too many times, women think that being soft or being in love means letting their standards slide. But love isn't real if it costs you your dignity. A woman who knows her worth will love deeply, but she'll never love foolishly. She'll give her heart, but not to someone who hasn't earned the right to hold it. When you know your value, you understand that rejection is redirection. You're not crushed when someone walks away because you believe in what you bring to the table. You're not out here begging anyone to see your light. You keep shining it, and you trust the right person will recognize it. You stop asking questions like, why doesn't he see my worth? And start asking, why am I still giving access to someone who doesn't? That's the shift. That's what changes the game. Women who know their value don't over-explain, overextend, or overstay. They trust their instincts. They protect their peace. And they surround themselves with people who see them clearly. When a woman walks in her worth, she naturally repels the wrong ones and attracts the right ones. Her value doesn't scream. It whispers with grace, with strength, with quiet power. She understands that real love doesn't require her to shrink, silence herself, or settle. Setting boundaries is one of the strongest acts of self-love a woman can practice. And not just setting them, keeping them. A lot of people talk about boundaries, but let's be honest, when the emotions get involved, when the butterflies start fluttering, when the texts are coming in at midnight and you're feeling lonely, those boundaries can start looking real flexible. But the women who attract the best men, they don't just talk boundaries, they live them. A woman with strong boundaries communicates exactly what she will and will not accept. She doesn't wait until she's deep in a relationship to speak up. She lays the groundwork early. She teaches people how to treat her, not through long lectures or emotional outbursts, but by her consistent actions. When a man crosses a line, she doesn't excuse it or rationalize it. She calls it out, and if it happens again, she's gone. No drama, no threats, just clarity. And let's get something straight. Boundaries are not walls. Boundaries don't keep love out. They protect love. A woman with strong boundaries is still soft, still feminine, still warm, but she's not naive. She's not desperate, and she's not out here handing out unlimited chances to men who keep showing her who they really are. Boundaries are about protecting your peace, your time, your energy, because not everyone deserves access to you. Not every man deserves your story, your space, or your softness. And if you don't protect that, you end up drained, confused, and heartbroken by men who were never supposed to be there that long in the first place. The truth is, men respect what you require, not what you hope for, not what you silently wish he'd understate, what you clearly state, and what you stand on. That's what gets respect. A woman who attracts the best men doesn't say, "I won't tolerate disrespect," and then answer texts after being ghosted for 3 days. She doesn't say, "I need consistency," and then accept breadcrumb attention. She doesn't say, "I value honesty," and then stay with someone who keeps lying. There's no room for contradictions when you're serious about protecting yourself. And it's not about being rude, cold, or dismissive. Boundaries aren't punishment. They're guidelines. They're how you say, "This is what it looks like to love me the right way." And the men who are worth your time, they don't get scared off by boundaries. They appreciate them because real men want to feel clear, not confused. They want to know how to show up. And when you show them the path, they walk it with confidence. Weak boundaries attract chaos. They invite in the men who test you just to see how far they can push. And once they see you're willing to bend your rules for them, they stop respecting you. It's harsh, but it's real. That's why women with solid boundaries are often seen as intimidating. Not because they're mean, but because they can't be manipulated. And manipulators don't like that. The beautiful thing about having boundaries is that you get to decide what kind of relationships you allow in your life. You're not at the mercy of whoever shows up. You're interviewing, not auditioning. And if someone doesn't meet the standard, you're not afraid to let them go. Women with strong boundaries also take accountability. They know that people will only treat you the way you allow them to. If you keep giving chances, keep ignoring red flags, keep hoping he'll change without any action, then you're part of the problem. But once you set that boundary and mean it, the game changes. Suddenly, the men who waste time stop calling. The ones who aren't serious fall off. And the ones who are intentional, they show up with clarity. Having boundaries also means being clear with yourself. Not just saying what you won't tolerate, but actually honoring that standard when the moment comes. Because it's easy to talk strong until loneliness kicks in, until he apologizes just right, until you start convincing yourself that maybe it's not that bad. But boundaries aren't real until they're tested. The best men aren't looking for a doormat. They're looking for a woman who values herself enough to say no, to walk away when it's necessary, to choose herself first so that when she chooses them, it's not out of need, it's out of alignment. Boundaries aren't just about protecting your heart. They're about teaching others that your heart is not a playground. Filling your own cup first is one of the most essential habits a woman can develop if she wants to attract a high-quality, emotionally mature man. Too many people move through relationships trying to complete themselves through someone else. They look for a man to make them happy, to save them, to bring meaning into their lives. But the women who consistently draw in the best men, they don't look for someone to fill a void. They're already full. They show up to the relationship whole, centered, and secured. When a woman fills her own cup, she's not looking for attention to validate her beauty. She's not waiting for romantic gestures to feel worthy of love. She already knows who she is, and she enjoys her life whether she's in a relationship or not. That energy is powerful. It's magnetic, because there's nothing more attractive than someone who is clearly content and joyful on their own. Being full doesn't mean being closed off. It doesn't mean you don't want love or don't need connection. It just means your happiness isn't hanging on whether someone texts you back or shows up in the way you hoped. You've already created a life that feels good to you, and any man who enters that life is simply an addition, not the foundation. Women who fill their own cup prioritize themselves, not in a selfish way, but in a healthy, intentional way. They take time to pour into their mental emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being. They say no when they need rest. They pursue their passions. They surround themselves with uplifting people. They invest in their personal growth. They do the things that light them up from the inside, and that light is what draws others to them. You can always tell the difference between a woman who's full and one who's starving for love. The one who's starving will accept crumbs. She'll overextend herself and give too much too soon and try to prove she's worthy of love. But the one who's full, she doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, she doesn't overgive. She loves generously, but she never depletes herself for someone else's comfort. The best men are not looking for a woman to rescue. They're looking for a woman to grow with, a partner, not a project. When you show up already rooted in your own joy, already secure in who you are, you attract someone who respects that wholeness and wants to match it, not manipulate it. Filling your cup is also about emotional self-awareness. You don't expect someone else to manage your emotions or make you feel secure every second of the day. Of course, you still want a partner who's supportive, respectful, and communicative, but you're not relying on them to regulate your mood. You take responsibility for your triggers. You've done the work to heal, to forgive, to grow, and you continue doing it. When your cup is full, you're able to give from a place of abundance, not desperation. You can love freely because your love isn't attached to an outcome. You're not giving so that someone will stay. You're giving because love is who you are. But you're also wise enough to stop giving when it's not being reciprocated in a healthy way. A full cup allows you to keep your identity in a relationship. You don't lose yourself. You don't shrink. You don't morph into what someone else wants. You stay grounded in your values, your dreams, your purpose. You continue to evolve. And that kind of self-assuredness keeps the relationship balanced. There's no unhealthy dependence. Just two people choosing each other from a place of clarity and strength. There's also peace in knowing that you're okay on your own. That peace makes you patient. You're not rushing to settle. You're not accepting cows just to avoid loneliness. You're not mistaking intensity for intimacy. You're moving with discernment. You know what feels right because you've spent time alone, learning yourself, loving yourself, and trusting yourself. A woman who fills her own cup doesn't make a man her entire world. He becomes a meaningful part of it, but not the whole story. She doesn't lose sleep wondering where she stands with him because she's already standing firm with herself. She has her own joy, her own peace, her own vision, and the right man respects that. He sees it, and he wants to be part of it, not take it over. Radiating confidence instead of competing is one of the most powerful qualities a woman can carry, and it's a major reason why certain women seem to effortlessly attract high-quality men. These women don't walk into a room trying to outshine anybody. They're not measuring themselves against other women, and they're not trying to prove they're better. They've reached a level of self-awareness that allows them to simply be. And in that stillness, in that quiet power, lies something magnetic, something that pulls people in without trying too hard. When a woman radiates confidence, she doesn't just wear it. It lives in her energy. It's in her eye contact, in her posture, in how she speaks and how she listens. It's not loud. It's not attention-seeking. It's not laced with arrogance. It's just grounded. She knows who she is, and she's not in competition with anybody because she's already running her own race. She's not trying to win over every man in the room. She's just focused on being her best self. And the right people naturally find her because of that. Competition is rooted in scarcity. It says, there's not enough love, not enough attention, not enough good men out here, so I have to fight for it. But confidence is rooted in abundance. It says, for me will never miss me, and I don't have to step on another woman to rise. Confident women don't view other women as threats. They celebrate them. They uplift them. Because secure people don't need to dim someone else's light to feel seen. There's a difference between performing and radiating. Some women perform confidence. They dress it up. They talk a certain way. They try to maintain a certain image. But deep down, they're constantly looking over their shoulder, wondering if they're enough. But women who radiate confidence aren't performing for anyone. They're just showing up, authentically, imperfectly. But truthfully, they've done the work. They've faced their insecurities, healed old wounds, and developed a relationship with themselves that isn't dependent on approval. This kind of self-assurance is what high-value men are drawn to. Not the perfection, not the looks, not the effort to impress, but the inner peace. The confidence that doesn't come from outside validation, but from within. These men don't want to compete with their partner or fix her self-esteem. They want someone who walks beside them, not behind them. Someone who brings her own light, her own strength, her own sense of self to the relationship. Women who radiate confidence also communicate differently. They don't beg to be chosen. They don't play games to manipulate interest. They say what they mean and mean what they say. They're direct, but not aggressive. Firm, but not inflexible. They listen more than they talk because they're not trying to dominate the space. They're simply present in it. Their presence says, I know who I am and I'm comfortable in my skin. And this doesn't mean they're always loud, always visible, always commanding attention. In fact, some of the most confident women are quiet, introverted, soft-spoken, but they don't need to be the loudest in the room to be noticed. Their energy speaks for them. They don't chase. They attract, not because they're playing hard to get, but because they genuinely value their time, their peace, and their standards. Radiating confidence means choosing not to enter into petty competition with other women. It means knowing that someone else's beauty, success, or happiness takes nothing away from your own. It means understanding that your path is yours and you don't have to copy or compare to be valuable. That mindset keeps you grounded. It frees you from the constant pressure to keep up or impress. It allows you to just exist as you are, real, flawed, growing, and still deserving of love. This energy creates space for the right man to feel safe. He doesn't feel like he has to entertain ego-driven games or guess what you want. You show up clear, content, and emotionally balanced, and that clarity is refreshing. You're not waiting for someone to complete you or define you. You've already defined yourself, and any relationship you step into is a bonus, not a lifeline. Radiating confidence also means owning your story, not hiding your past, not pretending to be someone you're not, but embracing your journey and allowing it to shape your strength. You've overcome. You've grown. And you don't need to prove anything to be worthy of love. You already are. That belief becomes a light that draws in someone who's ready to love a woman who already knows how to love herself. A stop in the chase and starting to attract is a mindset shift that changes everything when it comes to relationships. Too many women spend so much time and energy chasing after men who aren't fully available or interested. They send messages, wait on replies, rearrange their schedules, and constantly wonder if they're enough. But the women who consistently attract the best men, they've learned to stop chasing and instead focus on becoming magnetic. When you chase someone, it sends a message that your happiness depends on their approval. It makes you vulnerable to being treated like an option rather than a priority. A chasing can come off as desperation. Even if you don't mean it that way, often pushes the wrong men closer because they know you'll accept less. It also scares off the right men who value a woman with her own life, her own rhythm, and her own worth. Attracting, on the other hand, means living from a place of confidence and self-respect. It means you're not bending over backward to get attention or affection. You're not waiting for someone else's validation to feel whole. Instead, you're focused on your own growth, your own happiness, and your own peace. You're showing up fully for yourself first, and that energy naturally draws people who are ready to meet you there. Women who attract don't waste their time on the maybe, on the quiff. They understand that their energy is precious. They invest it wisely and don't chase someone who isn't clearly interested. That doesn't mean they don't take chances or express interest. It means they're clear about what they want and don't settle for less. They're selective because they know that chasing too hard often means selling too low. Attraction isn't about playing games or acting mysterious just to keep a man curious. It's about being authentic and comfortable in your own skin. It's about shining your light so brightly that the right man wants to step into it rather than run from it. It's about showing the world who you are and trusting that the right people will be drawn to the real you. When you stop chasing, you also stop the emotional roller coaster. You're no longer at the mercy of someone else's mood or timeline. You have the power to decide when and how you engage. That stability is attractive because it signals emotional maturity. Men who are ready for something real want a partner who can handle self, who doesn't crumble when things get uncertain, and who maintains her dignity no matter what. Another important part of attracting rather than chasing is setting clear boundaries about how you expect to be treated. When a man sees that you don't tolerate disrespect or inconsistent behavior, he knows you value yourself. That awareness commands respect and encourages him to show up at a higher level or step aside. You don't have to force attraction. You just need to create the conditions for it by honoring yourself and your standards. Women who attract also invest in their own lives outside of relationships. They have their own passions, friendships, and goals. They don't make a man the center of their universe. They invite him to be a part of a full and joyful life. This kind of fullness makes you more interesting, more vibrant, and more magnetic. It signals that you're a person who adds value, not someone who needs to be saved. There's also a peace that comes with letting go of the chase. It's a freedom from anxiety, from trying to control outcomes, and from feeling like your worth depends on someone else's attention. When you embrace that peace, you step into your power. You become a woman who radiates confidence and contentment, and that kind of energy is irresistible. Attracting rather than chasing doesn't mean you don't put yourself out there or that hide your feelings. It means you approach relationships with clarity and self-respect. You're not afraid to say no to what's not right, and you're not afraid to say yes to what feels good. You trust the process. You trust that the right person will come along when you're ready, not when you're desperate. Ultimately, the women who attract the best men are those who have learned to love themselves enough to stop chasing anything less than what they deserve. They've stopped running after love and started allowing it to find them. And when you live that way, your life shifts in ways you never thought possible. You being genuinely kind and authentic is a magnetic quality that sets certain women apart and naturally draws the best men to them. In a world where so many people put on masks or play roles to get what they want, a woman who shows up with real kindness and authenticity stands out like a bright light in the dark. This kind of presence is not about being perfect or agreeable all the time. It's about being real, transparent, and compassionate without losing your sense of self. Authenticity means showing up as who you truly are without trying to impress or manipulate. It means not hiding your quirks, your opinions, or your feelings just because you want someone to like you. It means being honest about your boundaries, your desires, and your needs. When a woman is authentic, she creates space for others to be authentic as well, which builds trust and connection on a much deeper level. That genuine connection is what the best men are truly seeking, even if they don't always say it out loud. Kindness, on the other hand, is often misunderstood as weakness or passivity, but it is actually a sign of strength and emotional intelligence. A kind woman is patient, understanding, and compassionate, but she is not a pushover. Her kindness comes from a place of abundance, not neediness. She is generous with her heart because she is secure enough to give without expecting anything in return. This kind of kindness feels safe and nurturing, and men who are ready for a healthy relationship are drawn to it because it mirrors the respect and care they want to give. When a woman combines authenticity with kindness, she becomes a rare find. She doesn't play games or hide behind a facade to get attention. She's real, she's vulnerable, and she's willing to show up fully, even when it's scary or uncomfortable. That courage is magnetic. It shows a man that she's not afraid to be herself and that she values honesty over approval. And in return, it encourages him to be open and genuine as well. Authenticity also means embracing your imperfections without shame. It means acknowledging your mistakes, learning from them, and continuing to grow. The women who attract the best men aren't pretending to be flawless. They're owning their humanity and inviting others to do the same. This creates a relationship dynamic based on acceptance and real connection, rather than on unrealistic expectations or constant judgment. Kindness, when paired with authenticity, also means holding space for others without trying to change them. A genuinely kind woman accepts people as they are while still encouraging growth. She supports her partner's dreams and challenges him to be his best self, but she doesn't try to control or fix him. This balance is attractive because it creates an environment where both people can thrive without pressure or fear of rejection. One of the most beautiful things about being kind and authentic is that it sets a tone for how you expect to be treated. You don't demand respect or affection because you give it freely and naturally. Your energy invites others to treat you with the same care you show yourself and the world. And men who recognize this kind of self-respect know they're dealing with a woman who won't settle for less than she deserves. At the same time, being kind and authentic means having boundaries and standing firm when necessary. It's not about being agreeable at all costs or sacrificing your needs to keep the peace. Truthfulness includes being honest about what you will and won't accept. It means saying no when something doesn't feel right and walking away if respect isn't given. This kind of strength wrapped in kindness is incredibly attractive because it shows that you value yourself deeply. Women who practice kindness and authenticity also tend to have a strong sense of empathy. They listen deeply, they care about others' feelings, and they respond with compassion. This emotional intelligence allows them to navigate relationships with grace and understanding. They're able to connect on an emotional level that goes beyond surface level attraction, creating bonds that last. Moreover, authenticity and kindness create a sense of peace within a woman. When you're not pretending or hiding, you're free to express your true self. That peace shines through in your smile, your laughter, and your presence. It's hard for anyone, especially the best men, to resist being around someone who radiates that kind of genuine warmth. Attracting the best men doesn't require grand gestures or trying to be someone you're not. It starts with being kind to yourself and others and showing up authentically in every situation. When you live from that place, your energy shifts. You become magnetic, not because you try it, but if you're real, because you're kind, because you're unapologetically you. Having a clear vision for your life and relationships is a game changer when it comes to attracting the best men. Many women drift into relationships without a strong sense of what they truly want or where they're headed, and that lack of clarity can create confusion, frustration, and ultimately missed opportunities. But the women who consistently draw in high-quality men are the ones who know their worth, their goals, and their values, and they're not afraid to pursue them with intention. When you have a clear vision, you operate from a place of purpose and direction. You know what kind of relationship you want, what kind of partner will support that vision, and what standards you need to maintain to protect your energy and your future. This clarity helps you make decisions quickly and confidently rather than getting caught up in what ifs or settling for less just because you're afraid of being alone. Men, especially those who are serious about building a meaningful connection, are attracted to women who know what they want. It's refreshing and inspiring to meet someone who isn't wishy or unsure about their path. When you can clearly communicate your vision, whether it's about your career, your personal growth, your family, or your relationship goals, you send a powerful message that you're ready for something real and lasting. Having a vision also means you're actively working toward it. You're not just waiting for love to happen or hoping someone will come along and fit into your life. You're creating a life that feels fulfilling on your own terms. That kind of self-driven energy is magnetic because it shows that you're independent and motivated. You're not looking for a man to complete you. You're looking for a partner to complement your already rich and meaningful life. When your vision is clear, you're less likely to compromise on things that matter. You won't settle for a relationship that doesn't align with your values or goals. This doesn't mean you're rigid or inflexible, but you do have non-negotiables that protect your heart and your future. For example, if family is important to you, you'll be clear about wanting a partner who shares that value. If personal growth matters, you'll seek someone who supports and encourages that journey. This clarity helps weed out the distractions and the mismatches. You're not wasting time on relationships that don't fit your vision because you can recognize early on when something isn't aligned. That kind of discernment saves emotional energy and keeps you focused on what really matters. A woman with a clear vision also models confidence and self-respect. She's not afraid to say no to things that don't serve her, and she's not willing to lower her standards just to be in a relationship. This strength is incredibly attractive because it shows that she values herself and her future. It sends a signal to men that she's serious, intentional, and ready to build something meaningful. Moreover, having a vision creates a foundation for healthy communication in relationships. When both partners know what they want and where they're headed, it's easier to align, compromise, and support each other's goals. You're able to have honest conversations about expectations, boundaries, and dreams without fear or confusion. That kind of clarity fosters trust and deepens connection. This vision-driven approach also encourages growth, not just individually, but as a couple. When you have goals, you're naturally pushing yourself to become better, to learn more, and to expand your horizons. The right man will be inspired by that drive and will want to grow alongside you. Together, you create a partnership that's dynamic and evolving rather than stagnant or uncertain. Having a clear vision for your life and relationships also helps you maintain your identity within the partnership. You don't lose yourself trying to fit into someone else's mold. Instead, you bring your whole self, your dreams, your passions, your values to the table. This authenticity is attractive because it signals that you're comfortable being yourself and that you expect to be loved for who you truly are. It's important to note that having a vision doesn't mean you have to have every detail figured out. Life is unpredictable and flexibility is key. But having a general direction, a sense of purpose, and clear priorities gives you a compass to navigate through the ups and downs. It keeps you grounded and focused rather than being swept away by uncertainty or pressure. When you live with intention, men notice. They see a woman who's confident, purposeful, and self-aware. They recognize someone who knows her worth and isn't afraid to claim it. That kind of presence is rare, and it naturally attracts men who are ready to step up and meet you on that level. Ultimately, a clear vision empowers you to create the kind of relationship you want rather than settling for whatever comes your way. It helps you stay true to yourself and your dreams while inviting the right man to join you on a shared journey. And that combination of confidence and purpose is one of the most magnetic forces there is when it comes to love.